Hello everybody. So my name is Houvenaghel. I'm from the company Ytria. I am here to present you the Ytria EZSuite, which is a suite of applications that are here to change how you're going to work with Notes Domino. So why EZSuite? So it's simple. I'm myself a developer and administrator. When we created the company 20 years ago, the aim was to stop losing time on stupid things, because we can lose a lot of time on stupid things while dealing with administration and development in Notes Domino. Today, I'm going to focus mostly on the administration part of our suites of tools. So the suite is contains so multiple tools. And this one is going to be only about administration. So I will begin to talk about database easy, then ASL easy, agent easy. As you can imagine, the name of the application gives you a good idea of what it is for. So what is the aim of it? And we have this easy kind suite. So like this English of easy being easy to do, because definitely the objective here is to say, okay, everything should be easy so you can focus on what is important. So database easy for database, management of database on the server, ASL easy for the ASL, agent easy for the agent, so it's pretty standard. You have replication easy, I'll let you guess what it is for, console easy, okay again. Then the last one is going to be scan easy, so this one, the name doesn't mean what it is done, because the idea is really to manipulate a database. So I could talk, but I think the best is to show. So I'm going now to switch to my Notes Domino environment. And so here I'm with my Notes client, and you can see that I have my set of tools over there. And I'm going to launch it. So I'm going to select any database just to have a pre-selection and launch database. So first thing to understand is all the EZSuite applications have their own session. So this is really important. So you can have your Notes session and your administrator in one specific session, and have any of our tools working in another session. So with any session you can have access to, which can be sometimes pretty handy, because then you can switch from one session to another without the need to close everything in your Notes environment. So here you can see that he pre-selected my database. I'm going to load the full server. So he's going to connect and get the list of all the database available on my server. And from there, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all my database at once. And now I have all my database in this grid. So this here is what we call the Flexiview. Flexiview is something that we worked on for 20 years, and it is a UI, an interface that we created so to make easy, as the name of the product stands for, so it makes it easy to understand and to manipulate your volume of data. Here, I have a set of database. I'm going to expand that so we can use the full screen of it. I have a set of database, but this can be 1,000, 100 of 1,000, 300, 500 of 1,000, and you will have the ability to manipulate your information. So when we're talking about manipulation, well, this is in the Flexiview, there is some standard things. So let's say I want to have a vision of my database by type. So I'm going to do a drag and drop, collapse everything, and I can so focus on my database. I can do something like that, so group on the path and be able to see my database by path. I will have the ability to do some filtering. So I have a lot of filter available, maybe regular expression, text filter. So let's say here, I want everything that contains, for example, A, and it will only focus on what I'm looking for. So the objective here is really to say, okay, I need to be able to find something. So I need to be able to manipulate my information by mass volume of information and be able to find what I'm looking for, because usually the problem, the administrator, is to find what you are looking for. Here, just to understand with databases, so we have this column map. Column map is going to give you the list of all the information available inside of any Flexiview you will have. And you will see that here I have the capacity to see up to 136 properties of my database. And everything that in fact is in red here is not shown by default, but I can choose. So let's say I want to focus on full text. I'm going to select everything about full text, and now it just added my information. So you're going to tell me, well, okay, this is interesting, but why it is gray? So that's the other approach of our application is by default, we will going to load everything we can grab from the server quickly and rapidly. And this is why to load all my database in the grid, it was pretty fast. But then some information require that you do a load. So we need to open each database individually. So I'm going to do that, for example, on my mail here. And select all my mail. And I'm going to do right click. Okay. And do a load complete database information. So here, what it's going to do is going to open all my database one by one, and is going to update my information that was initially gray. So we can see that now I get some information about some, for example, all my status on the full text, for example. So 2 steps. First step, gather quickly information. Second step, and second step, gathering detailed information. It's going to take a bit more time because we will have to open each element individually, but at least you will have all the extent of all the information you need to be able to search for. Now, something else to look at. So if we look at, I'm going still to talk about this Flexiview because you will see after, we will see the Flexiview again and again and again. And it's really the core of everything we're doing at Ytria. So the Flexiview will give you the ability to do multiple things. So we saw the searching, the grouping. As you see, there is a toolbar with a multiple option. You have, for example, the ability to set some totals. So I'm going to do a sum, for example, on the logical size, and now I have a situation of my size for, upon my grouping. So it could be any kind of grouping, any kind of analysis you want to do. If you need to go further, you always have the ability to build a full pivot from here. So if you need to do some aggregation depending on some multiple axes, and you can even, if you need, you can even create a chart. So the objective is really to give you access to your information, and if at any time you have something that, okay, you are happy with what you're looking at and you say, okay, now I need to share that with somebody, you can at any time export that. So you can export the content of the Flexiview to Excel or to HTML. So to be able to share that or to export to XML or CSV, for example, to be able to produce that in something else. So there is the idea is to say, okay, we get the information and we, so let's show you, if I do an export, just you see what it is look like. So I'm going to launch it, exporting. It's going to open because I asked to open by default, so it's opening Excel, and I get my report right away. So definitely, the idea is to see stuff, but now, let's say you find, you found your problem, you find the issue, and now you need to fix your issue. So that's the second step. And this is where it becomes really interesting, because now that I have my selection, now I got everything here, I will have the ability to do some modification. So from here, I will have the ability to do mass modification on any of the properties that we provide. You will have the ability to do some mass modification of the situation. Here, I have a situation, as we can see, globally, they all have the same setting. But for example, for sure, the file name is different from all the database, but you will see a situation of what is the same, what is not the same, and you will be able to change it. So let's say I want to go to the advanced property, and from there I will have the ability to say, okay, I don't want to, let's say I don't want to maintain a red mark on this database. I'm going to apply. You will see that here now I have this small icon, the edited icon, because everything we do in the application, nothing is live. So no oops moment, the oops, I shouldn't have clicked on that. Now I destroy my environment. Here you can still work. Nothing has been applied on the server, and nothing will be applied until you decide that you are ready to apply your modification on your server. And this is valid for all the tools we provide. So this two-step situation, check, change, verify, then apply. Something else to look at is a tool that we get, a part of the tool we get inside of the in the Flexiview, which and on which we get a patent is the Comparator. Comparator is interesting, really interesting in database because sometimes you need to understand, okay, is my environment globally the same thing? So let's say if I go and select here multiple settings, so database link, let's say, is it full index? What I'm going to check, quota limit, quota warning, log, DAO state, large summary. Okay, I'm going to add that here. And I'm going to say, okay, I want to compare the most numerous, so I want to see all together and to see if there is a difference. And so right away here, as you can see, right away it will give you a situation, and you will see right away what's different. So now it's pretty easy to find the difference, knowing that we always have this capacity to do the grouping here. So I have my grouping, I have my fail, I have my entry, and now I can fix my situation. So really, Flexiview, the application, this interface that will give you the ability to search, see everything, and be able to then from there do mass modification, to check situation, to do reporting, to do analysis. So that's really the core of what we offer. And as you can see already, this can totally change the way you are working with Nodes Domino as an administrator, because then there is no more guessing and there is no more spending time creating some code to find an information or to fix a situation. Knowing that in databases, and we will have multiple small tools. So maybe something I want to talk about first is this column here, the comment here. So this is something we added in the last version of our solutions. So it's what we call the comments. So you have the ability at any time to set a comment. So I can say, okay, I will need to fix that. I can put a color because I want to be sure that I remind and see it. And the way it works, it's create a comment, and the comment here is going to stick. So you will keep the comment all time. And if I close, as you saw, I reopen database and I get my comment back. So it's a good way, easy way to mark that, knowing that the comments are stored in the Nodes database, and the Nodes database then can be shared with other users. So you can be multiple administrators working on the same environment, and then share comments in your environment to put some notes in your environment that you can share among you. Another thing to look at in our tools, we usually have some specific tools inside. So you have definitely the grid, the Flexiview is your first contact. But then after that, from there, you will have some specific tools for specific functionality. In database, for example, you have the ability to go and analyze the user activity. So let's say I want to see this database, go here, and tools, and going to look at the database user activity analyzer. I'm going to load everything. And so here I will have in that subgrid all the activities that occur in my selected database. So here not so much, so I can see that mostly it's the server who did some work on this selection of database, but here you will have the full activity, so depending on how much it is stored, so you use full activity on your database and you'll be able to analyze that. On other thing too, you will have the ability to manipulate the encryption. You will have the ability to launch some console command on your environment, and we provide you some help about how to manipulate the console command. You will have the ability to do some view analysis. You will have the ability to define, to refine some full text index. So definitely, as you can see, with Database Easy, we are definitely more than extending the administrator tool of the domino. With that, there are no more guessing, no more spending time. You can see, manipulate, and handle whatever you need on your environment. So now that we saw Database in extent, I propose that we're going to look at the other. It's going to be a bit faster, for sure, for the other application, because we saw the master one, which is great. So now we can focus on the specific tools and features of the other application. So let's say ACL is for ACL. So inside of that, the idea is pretty simple. As you can, as you imagine, I had agent TZ, databases that was gathering by database. Now here, I'm gathering my agent. So by default, my ACL, sorry. So here, I selected all my database in my environment. It's going to load here in my grid all the ACLs entry you have here. And now in my Flexiview, I get my ACL entries. So if we do something as simple as that, grouping by access and grouping by name, now in 2 seconds, I just found out who effectively have a manager access in my environment. And I can see that, whoops, something is wrong. I get an anonymous manager access to my environment. From there, like in Database, I can change. In this situation, I can either change that live here, or if I need to do some mass modification, I will have the ability to use this to do some mass changing on the specific attributes of an ACL. If I look at the group, so let's say if I look at a group like this one, and I need to see and understand what are we talking about, at any time I have access to the group. So I can see the group, the member, it will handle and manipulate the multiple layers if you have multiple address book in your environment. And so you will have the ability to navigate through that, and you, as you see and correct, you will have the ability to manipulate your group directly from here and correct the situation. Something else that is interesting, so we have this, just that, being able to see, mass modify your ACL in a situation, that is something really handy. Something else that is interesting too is, let's say I have this administrator group here, and I want to be sure that this is present everywhere. We have the ability to do this copy selected entry. So the idea, how it works, it will give you where it is currently present and where it is not. So from here, it's pretty easy to say, okay, I want to fix that, and I'm going to apply my modification on the selected database I selected. So now we will see, and here, up here, you see some line get created. They're marked with a small sun because it's new, and so you will have to apply your modification. So manipulating, correcting your ACL from here is really, really, really easy and fast. But wait, there is more. Let's say I want to understand, because I have groups and everything, then I want to understand what's happening behind that. We have the ability to do nested group analysis. So as you can see, I asked to see the nested group, and what it did, it went through all the entry, went through the address book, and gives you now the situation from the member. So rather than looking at the ACL entry itself, I'm going to look at the effective member name. So even if you have multiple layers of groups, at the effective member name, so now I will be able to see what is going to exist. So let's collapse that and go back to manager. And so now I will see the situation of, so we see that this entry is set. It is red because in fact, it doesn't exist in my address book. It's a warning. And it is set because it is member of the group other domain. If you need to manipulate the group, we have the group navigator. Group navigator, the idea is simple. Gathering all these groups you have in your environment, may be multiple address book, and from there, showing you in the form of a tree, and so being able from there to do some manipulation of your group membership, or showing you in the Flexiview, the Flexiview we love so much, and from there you will have the ability to do some manipulation or change. So removing, adding people to groups and to analyze the situation on the group membership, that is extremely easy and fast. So that's for SLZ. So as I said, it was going to go faster on the other part because the main core of the idea with the tree and the Flexiview is here. After, it's more a question of what we show it to you and what kind of tool we offer to you. So from there, you can see you have the ability to manipulate or you grid. I don't know if you see here, I have role. I have even the ability to manipulate and to handle all my roles. So I can do some role assignment, the assignment creation and everything. So the main idea is you can manipulate your ACL easily from this product on the whole server at once. So now let's move to the next one. So now it's Agent Easy. As you can imagine, Agent Easy is going to be about agents. So same logic, server, I'm loading my server, and once I'm inside of my server, so it's loading all the database, putting the database in the tree, and now I'm going to focus on the schedule one, because this is usually what you want to focus on, and it's going to open the database and gather the list of all the agents you can get inside of this database, and only the schedule one. So here, opening that big, and now I got my list of all my agents. As you can see, I have the same as in database. There is some information that are not provided by default because it would take too much time. So by default, we show and list you all the design elements, all the agents here available, and from there, we have the ability to go further and grab the detailed information of every agent if you need so. So what I propose, let's say, what's enabled. So what are the agents that are running on my server? Right? Small grouping here. So this is the agents that are currently running. One thing, we show you here a small timeline. So on my agents that I'm selecting here, I have my timeline. Okay. Okay. So that's a demo issue. So as you all know, here I show you a graph with all your timeline of your agent being running. And here it doesn't show me anything. So, okay, let's say, so I will come back to it, but for now, the demo. The prime of the demo. So I got my agent, my timeline. So what I know why. Because I need to load my details to be able to put that. Sorry, it's my mistake. The stress of the demo. It's not the prime of the demo, it's the stress of the demo. So here, since I loaded the detailed information of my agent, so I have the dates of running of this agent, so I can show you now the information and being able to see a bit more, so when the agents, zoom out a bit, and where is it? Anyway, okay. It doesn't want to work correctly, sorry for that. So I have my agent, loaded my agent, get my time. You saw there was a timeline. And from here, you have some global information about these agents that are running. So you know first when they run, you know how much time it took, you know who's the signer. So you can see that here I have an issue. Why this name is red? Because this name is not part of my address book. So in fact, the agent is signed by somebody that is not part of my address book. So this may cause some issue. And the same way as before, I can change that. So I can, for example, change the run on. So let's say, okay, define that my agent has to run on the specific server and change that. I can disable or enable agent really easily. So here I disable my agent. This is why they don't appear anymore because they are here. They move to the disable part. And for example, what I do on my environment is I added some comments on my agent just to keep a trace. So here I added a comment just to say that, okay, I want, so this need to run, be enabled. just to keep a trace, because that, you know, when you do some refresh design and everything, sometimes you lose your states on the enablement, and so you have to re-enable your agent, so depending on your environment and everything. So this is a good way to keep a trace in your environment, in your production environment, to say, okay, I want to keep some trace without changing and adding anything inside that, just putting that in agent easy and keep that for the next time you open the product. So anything can be changed. You can sign it, so you can resign agent if you need to resign that. This work using another tools that I won't present today, which is SignZia. We present tomorrow on the developer session. But so you have the ability to do some mass signing, mass modification, enable, changing random, etc., etc. So as usual, global vision and global manipulation. Okay, so now I'm going to move to the next one, and the next one is going to be is going to be replications. So replications, I'm going to use another environment. I'm going to use Ytria environment. So this is my replication easy. So the difference of replication easy with other application is that here you have the ability to choose more than one server. So I'm going to select multiple server here. Okay. And so the way it works is, rather than working on one server, is going to gather all the database of all my server at once. Okay, so we can see that here is going through everybody. And from there, so rather than having, so let's here, and that's it. Okay, so I got all my server. I'm going to select fine. And you see, it pre-selected everything else, because what it did, it showed you here in one place really quickly all your information on all your server. You can choose, you know, don't forget the column map, so you can choose what you want to see on this level. So you can really choose and define the property you want to see. And from there, it will show you right away the situation. So if I sort with replica ID, for example, I see right away that I have a situation with like duplicates. So I have a server which have twice the same database on the same. So this can cause your problem on your replication. So here I got this global vision of my replication state, not state, sorry, map of my servers. So to be understanding, so what I can do from it. In this application, I will have a big number of tools. So a good one that I love. So let's say if I take, so I'm going to go on names, so sorting on that names. NSF, I'm going to sort, I'm going to discover replica. So this is an ensuring tool. This is an tool that will go take one database, and from there, we go through all the replication history and go and connect to all the entry points in C to give you a global situation from the replication history, to give you a status of, okay, how did it work? Where did it replicate? What worked? What didn't work? And the ensuring part, once it's finished, as you can see, it created here a chart. So I'm going to, of my replication. So you have a very quick vision, graphical vision of my situation. I can definitely then filter that out, so set some filtering and everything to focus and pinpoint on what I need to see and what I need to manipulate. So that's really a really handy tool to understand what's happening. When you're looking at a situation, then it's going to provide you some tools to compare that. So you will have the ability to check, okay, I want to check, are my cells fully consistent on my replica? Are my agent settings fully consistent among my replica? Do I have the same counter of document? Do I have the same, do I have conflicts on any of my replica? Do I have a red? So what is my red situation for a specific name across my different replica? So as you can see, and you can do a lot of things from there to analyze all your situation, and you will be able to re-analyze. So let me show you a nice one. So I want to track a node. So I have a universal ID here. So I can put multiple universal ID, tracking node, and it will tell you here that's a tool that will track the node among all the replica and tells you, okay, what happened? Where did it come? Where is the first one? And where it replicate after that? So from here, we have a history of the replication status among your different servers. Some of the tools, so a lot of tools I was saying, so the discovering replicas, the nodes tracker, you have the cluster analyzer, so I won't be able to show you because I don't have any cluster currently in this environment, but you have a cluster that's going to analyze the cluster and give you status and global analysis of your cluster situation. And you have the connection analyzer. So connection analyzer is interesting. It will go through all of your connection documents you have inside of your names.nsf and put that flat by name of the database to understand, okay, why it replicates, what is the role. So you see I selected names on NSF, it tells me that, okay, you will have this role in multiple places and it will show you a chart of it. So definitely replication easy. When you have more, I would say, just having 2 servers, it's enough to need to have replication easy. Doing this kind of work requires some situation where you may have up to, I remember seeing some consultants spending weeks or months just analyzing a complex environment with replication easy. In a couple of hours, they were able to get a status of the situation and be able to provide some reports and some analysis of a current situation of your environment. There is some modification available in Replication Easy too. You have the ability to correct some situations. So if you go in the selected database here, so we show you all the replica together, and from there, you will have the ability to do some mass addition. So it's about exactly the same as what you're going to have in database in effect, but focusing really on the replication related properties of a database. The other tool, so this one is interesting because it's a totally different approach. So Console Easy, that is something we built because there was a real frustration about how you could have access to console in Domino. And so this is why we created Console Easy. So Console Easy, same here. I can select multiple server. So I'm going to take my full bunch. Okay, here. And now, so I'm going to put some max like that. I get all my console at once under hand, which is pretty handy because sometimes just getting access to the console is a developer or you use a Java one. But here, everything is at hand. So you can see all your console going live and you have an access to it. You can do some specific. So let's say with a good one, you can launch some console command from one, or you can even launch console command on multiple servers at once. So if I need to set something to correct something on all my server, as you can see, I launch up all my server at once, all console command on everything. I need to do some analysis. So let's say, okay, I'm focusing, I have a problem, I need to, and I want all the blah, blah. I just want to focus on something that has meaning. So let's say I want to focus on everything that is so the agent manager related. So I can put some filters. So it only show user entry inside of the console that is related, that contains the agent manager here. So you can see if something pops up or not during your environment, knowing that this is on one server, mobile, but I can add another mobile. So I can have multiple times the same server and have another mobile that this time will show, so is put it here, and this time to use another filter or to keep it open for everything. So as you can see, you are not restrained anymore. You have a direct access. It's so handy, it's pretty fast. It's really fast to access, really fast to get. Something else is when you launch it, by default, it's going to take a buffer of time. As you saw, it didn't start empty. You can say, I want to get 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of buffer. So I want to see what happened before I just launch Console Easy. So it's really handy for maybe a developer or an administrator. You don't need to have full admin or console access to be able to open console easy. The only thing you need to have here is a read access to the log NSF database, because this is what we do. We go to the log NSF database, which is pretty interesting because this means that a developer can have that to check and to see if an agent is effectively running. He won't be able to launch console commands, so this won't work. You will get errors for sure. We don't bypass the security of nodes, but at least he will be able to follow a situation on an environment. So a few details. So the server task, so you have some way, so you can have all your server tasks open at the same time to check what's happening. So this is live. You have the ability to have access to the server statistics. So if I go on, let's say I want server, and I say add, so I can grab all my different statistics available on my server and put that into Flexiview. So after that, you can do analysis, exporting, etc., etc. And the other really interesting part of Console Easy is the log analyzer. You know, sometimes, you know, when you're looking at, so if I take this guy, for example, and you need to do some analysis on the log. So this is nice in the console, but you need to go deeper and to understand what's happening. So if, let's say, I'm going to take 12 hours, open that, and now I have my full log information in a view, in the Flexiview. And rather than having one document, you know, with a bunch of entries that's almost impossible to manipulate, we exploded everything. So you have one row by information. So from there, after that, it's pretty easy to do, you know, sorting, grouping, exporting, etc., etc. So you have access to your information to pinpoint. Not that I selected one server, but I could here select multiple servers at once and putting all this log together, all together, to be able to do some mass analysis. And I would have exactly the same for what we call the volume analyzer. In fact, they focus on the session activity, replication. So there are not regular logs, there are more specific logs. So that's, I would say, all the tools that are really, you know, administrator focused, and that, as I imagine, I hope that by looking at this tool, you told to yourself, I need that, you need that, you need that, you need that, so to stop spending time on stupid things and to be able to focus on what is important and your expertise and your work. Now I'm going to talk about, so another product, which is ScanEasy. So ScanEasy is, it's different. ScanEasy is the first tool that we provided on the market. The main idea of ScanEasy is to get a full access to one database. So I have my database, and from here, I get access, a raw access. So it's like opening the hood of your truck, so your database, and getting inside of the engine and gathering information about everything that is inside of the database. So as you can see here, I have a database here, and I open and I have access to the design content. This is not a designer. This is just the objective to show you, in fact, the effective real note that is containing the design. As you can see, I won't change design from here unless you know how to change that by heart. Nobody does that, but at least it gives you the ability to check that effectively a design exists and what, you know, how it is stored, if it fix the situation. On the document is really interesting because you have the document organized by default by form, because this is the way we work in those domino usually. And for every document, we have the full content. See, Flexiview, in this Flexiview, we show you the full content of the document. And from there, you have the ability to see the detail value. And so you can imagine, seeing is something, but then I can change. So if I need to change something and say, okay, this should be 88, and I'm going to fix that, I just fix my situation. No need to create an agent, no need to create a special view to find something. You know, I get access to all my information. I get access to my profile document. Same here. I can change the content of my profile document. I have access to the deletion stub. I don't have any deletion stub in this database, but I will have the list of all the deletion stub. Maybe a soft deletion stub or hard deletion stub, but everything will be listed inside of that. I will have conflicts. So I will use the list of the conflicts that I have on my database. I will be able to then from there, I have a conflict solver. So it gives me the ability to go through my conflicts and then from here make a decision about what I want to keep and what I want to get rid of. And you can say, okay, I want to keep that. So I want to keep this guy, I want to keep this up, and then I can solve. I will have, so that's just first contact. I have access to SL because SL is core. So it's like a mini SL easy, just focusing on one database, but you have the full capacity to manipulate your SL and to do some modification, to do some analysis from there. And so we saw this global vision, but then the interesting part is you have multiple search ability inside of that. So you have a couple of universal ID, and you need to find this universal ID in the database, copy paste them here, and just find that. You have some note ID, same here. You have a complex formula, so you can have a complex formula to do a search and to find what you're looking for. You can even save your formula, so you can save, knowing that, I don't know if you see this number, you keep the 100, so a kind of buffer of your 100 last formula, so you don't have to retype them, you can reuse them, knowing that if I have multiple ScanEasy open at the same time on multiple database, for example, they all share that live. So if you enter a formula in one ScanEasy, it's going to be available in the other ScanEasy right away. I will have the ability to search by, so something else I want, because we saw that with the search by formula here, you have this title option. Title option is something so handy. So when looking at here, by default, the title we use is the name of the collection, so the name of the form, but you can choose anything. So let's say I want to use the subject as a title. So now it's like kind of building an index view on the fly. So I see my title. Okay, so here I just choose to use one specific field, but in fact, if I go here, I have the ability to do very much more than that, because I can use some note information, whatever which about the notes that you're looking at, or I can do, you have any information about a specific field, or I can create a formula. So I can use a specific formula, knowing that here we are not binded by the restriction of the view. For when you're in the view, you cannot use DB colon, DB lookup, and everything. Here you can use DB colon, so you can mix information from multiple databases and put that as a title. You can, on the search too, interesting is that, for example, you can say, okay, I need to use a view. So I'm going to use a specific view. So let's say I'm going to use that, do a search on that. And here I created what we call a My Selection. So My Selection is a virtual folder in which we put that. This virtual folder, you can mix everything you want inside of that. And once you have that, you will always have this information, which is first a way to see a global situation. But here I choose all the documents that don't follow the same structure. So for sure, everything is different. I can say I want to see a value. So I want to see, so let's say I'm going to select all that, do a value on that. And now in my grid, I have all the value available of all my documents. So I can do some research and everything. So I can go really deep in the content. As you can see, I have some actions. I was able to search, I'm able to do some mass modification, no need to code anything, just change that. I have so many tools inside of ScanEasy, so you can do some comparison, you can do some exports, you can do, I could spend hours, and I know it's time, I just reached my, so I could, so as I said, so I have a session tomorrow about development where we talk a bit more about ScanEasy and all the details of what you can do with ScanEasy. I will talk about SignEasy for the signature and about some very specific developer tools. Today, so the objective was to focus on the administration part. I hope that you got interest on that, on what I talked about. So let me go back to my presentation here. If you want to try, just go to the website, you can download. If you want to know more, definitely you can talk with Cyan, who is our reseller and partner in your region. So, and they will be more than happy to answer all your questions. You can download the tool and try it. We can provide some temporary keys so you can go and evaluate fully the product among your environment. Just something to say is that I remember at the beginning of Ytria, we were kind of saying that we were kind of a drug seller, if I can say that. I don't know if it's politically correct, but as soon as you begin to use our application, you won't be able to stop. That's a warning, I have to say. But you will see, because it changed definitely your life. And so many times I hear, why I didn't have your tool before. So why I spend so much time on so this stuff? You shouldn't spend time on that. You should focus on what is important and on your expertise rather than spending and losing your time on finding some details and getting that. So thank you. If you have any question, I'm here. So I know now it's a question session. I'm here. Listen.
Bonjour, Eric. Bienvenue au Russie.
Merci.
So we will switch to English. So thank you for the great presentation. You showed how it's easy to do some administration tasks, and I think the one of the HCL ambassadors told that he can't imagine tools working with Domino without Ytria tools, right? Theo Hasselman,
yep.
Lifetime ambassadors, I think it's quote on your site. So yep. I really encourage everybody to try your tool, because just digging in property box and doing much more sophisticated stuff is much easier with Ytria, ScanEasy and other things. Well, I have some questions for you.
Sure.
As far as I know, you just released some the 20 versions, yep. 20 version, and there is a lot of revolutionary changes, right? There is automation, support of JavaScript that turns the tool from just, let's say, fixing things into the things when we can solve it once, right? Can you tell a little bit about it?
Sure. So we provided in our situation, so everything you can do in the application can be automated. So if I go back to my environment, we have, so let's say, let's take this guy, for example. You have at any time, here, you have at any time the ability to load automation scripts. So automation scripts, we use XML for that. It's kind of a macro language. So anything you do can be automated. We use that a lot. For example, I don't know if you saw, but every time I was doing that, there is some inter-product links, because you want to be able to launch some stuff. Let's say I have a database easy. From there, I got a situation, and then I have a small script to do some mass modification. So I will have the ability to use this script and to apply that on my selection of database. So with the automation, you can automate, and you can really do some really complex things with that, without and without the need to do that all that manually. We have a full help about that. It's everything is available on help.ytria.com, and you have a full explanation of the language. Knowing that in the EZSuite, you have the ability to save. We have an automation recorder, so it's going to give you a way to save a set of automations from there, rather than I don't know, I do the same in Excel when I do to create a macro. The first thing I do is save it to use that as a base to work from there after.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It explains, yeah. And I heard a very positive feedback from a lot of customers about your tool called Agent Easy. So when they run it, I think 95% on this of agents on servers are scheduled for 1 in the night, right? Yeah. And I think it creates a lot of, let's say, issues for administrators, for tasks, because sometimes you need to have it in particular order, and also a load on a server, because if you're working 24/7, then at this time you can search for days why it's slow.
Yeah.
But if you have, like you shown the map of the agents, you can make them equal, and you know when it runs.
Right away. I have a story. We had a case before having Agent EZ. I had what I call a rogue agent. Every Sunday at 3 in the morning, my server was crashing. And then the question is, how do you find the bad agent that is crashing your server? If you don't have any trace, you have to go through all your database and find the agent that is running at 3 a.m. on Sunday. Or you have to be there at your office at 3 a.m. to check what's happening at 3 a.m. your work. With Agent EZ, finding it took me 5 minutes just to go, okay, grab everything. Oh, this guy is running at 3 a.m. So maybe this is a guy. And it's really easy to fix. And as you say, yeah, everybody, when he's creating an agent, he schedules the agent at 1 a.m. in the morning. I think it's something like, yes, classic. But after, when you have 10,000 agents running at 1 a.m. in the morning, it's a server. 1 a.m. is a bad time to go to the servers, that is for sure.
Yeah, and I think another related thing, we have still a few minutes so we can talk.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing is that another classic when administrator signs all agents with his name,
yep,
and leaves, and somebody removes this person from domino directory, the agents no longer run.
Yeah.
And you really you have a bad day, like in aviation, like pilot says. Yeah. So you have to find which agents are no longer running and they don't longer run. So you really need a time machine for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you can just do a search and sign them with proper ID and.
Yeah. So with Agent EZ, it's pretty easy because it pops to your face. There you see who is signing. Did he run? Did he not run? And then from Agent EZ, you will have the ability to, as I said, use sign EZ in batch, so to sign globally with the proper agent, the proper ID.
And it's please continue. Sorry.
No. I was going to say that talking about IDs, you can also something interesting is that you can also switch ID. I don't know if somebody can switch my screen back. On to show, because here we are, yeah, okay, so I see that in the live monitor that you don't see my screen, but you have at any time inside of the application the ability to switch ID, because as I was saying, you have a session that is different from your Notes client, which is really interesting. So for example, I have my ID for my email, but I have some ID for the signing and what can run and the development IDs. So I don't want to switch my ID in my Notes client every time because then I don't have access to my email. It closes every time you switch ID in Notes, it closes everything, which is a pain.
We have screen sharing now. So
okay. Yeah, thank you. So here, at any time you can switch ID. So here, for example, I'm connected at John Admin, but inside of the application, I can say, now I want to work at Kim Good. So here what happened is, I stored, so everything is stored, encrypted and everything, so it's fully safe. But so then I can't read, so I just switch ID. So now I'm working as Kim Good, so I will be able, for example, to do stuff that I was not able to do before, thanks to that. And if I open a tool, so another tool from here using, for example, the open server is just switching, it will keep this new session, so that's a new thing in the 20. It will keep the new session on and on, so you can keep this kind of bubble with another session and be able to do what you need to do.
Yeah, that saves a lot of, I think, not only hours but nerves for administrators, and we can multiply it with number of business users.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
definitely.
So I really encourage everybody to try Ytria, and I really like your, comparison with, drugs. While the drugs is really bad, but when you start using good tools, it's really hard to to escape that. It's like with a good car or with a phone or with a good software. So
exactly.
software that's make you enjoy your work. So Eric, thank you very much. I'm by the way on another part of the island, So
yeah, I
we
see
have,
that. I see that. Yeah,
I have surfing and diving here, so yeah, we can have a coffee here. So
yeah,
thank you
because
for
today it is snowing here in Montreal, so I wanted to have some sun a bit.
That's good. Yeah, thank you for coming and
Oh, thank you very much.
enjoy. Yeah, thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.